Aside from scalability, there are other kinds of blockchain risks. So scalability is the known problem with different kinds of proposed solutions, and probably over time, different kinds of solutions being implemented. One risk with scalability is that there could be a hard fork, and this means that the weight of the power could go with deciding one certain way, and in a hard fork situation, all of the wallet balances on one side of the chain would go forward, and all of the ones on the other side that didn't get included, all of the nodes that don't update their software will not be able to participate in the going forward version of the chain. So it's just like upgrading to Windows 8, but if it's a hard fork situation, then a Windows 6, an earlier version of the software, would not be compatible with the new version. And so it's important to keep an eye on what can happen if there's a hard fork or a soft fork, which basically just means a hard fork would mean that your machine needs to update to the new software, or your coin will no longer be compatible. In a soft fork, that generally means backward compatibility as well. So after scalability, one of the next big risks is cybersecurity with blockchains. So there's a possibility of hacking these 51% attacks, but is the software hackable? So there are ongoingly high-profile attacks on the software and thefts of coin. So Mt. Gox was an exchange that got hacked, and there have been periodically there are hacks where coin is stolen. So what this means is that the basic protocol of the software has never been attacked successfully. So what happens is the software that exchanges run is not secure. And so, for example, your wallet might ask you to send through your transaction again that the first one didn't confirm, but that could be an error. It could be a DNS attack directing your transaction to another wallet in a double spend situation, sending the same amount of coin but to a different wallet. So all of the hacks so far have not been the underlying blockchain software, but they've been different ecosystem members like exchanges or wallet companies using the blockchain software. So attacks is something to watch for. The other thing that people worry about is a concentration of mining. So on one hand, Bitcoin is radically decentralized. It's a peer-to-peer global software system that can replace banks. But strangely, ironically, the Bitcoin mining operation is actually highly centralized. So there are only a few companies, 6 to 10 companies, that have the lion's share of the mining effort. And these are mostly in China and a little bit in Russia and the Nordic countries. And so the people worry about the potential risk of the mining concentration being in China. Now, over time, as Bitcoin or blockchain software becomes more adopted globally, the mining concentration could not be in just one country. It would need to be dispersed all over the world, similar to the Visa payment system, for example. So right now, it could just be temporary that it's concentrated in China, but if the mining operation expanded a lot more, it would need to be more globally dispersed. Another worry is a 51% attack. So with the software, what could happen is that if any party or parties colluding together can control 51% of the network mining power, they could theoretically take over the network. So people talk about a 51% attack. However, blockchain theorists think that this is not a particularly difficult problem or a real risk. So number one, the parties participating in blockchain currently don't have incentive to collude. They don't want to bring down the whole system. Further, even if they could take over the network in a 51% attack situation, it's only for a moment. It's not for an ongoing kind of control of the network. Further, even if taking over the network, it would not be possible to steal balances from wallets or push through different modes of how the software is going to confirm the wallet balance transfers, or really do anything on the network other than be controlling the processing power of the network for a moment. Further, this actually 51% attack greater than 51% control of the processing power of the network situations happen all the time, almost daily. And because the network is all operating together as an ecosystem, it's not a threat that is ever acted upon. And so 51% attacks are a risk, but probably not a real risk. They're more of a deterrent than an actual risk that would be acted upon. So those are the different kinds of technical risks. But then there are other kinds of risks. One is perception risk. This is becoming less of a big deal now, in that formerly, meaning a few months ago or a year ago, people thought, oh, Bitcoin, blockchain, that's for Silk Road or just for illegal activities. But just like the regular internet, certainly there are illegal activities and legal activities, and now the amount of activity, the volume of transactions coming from bona fide sources, not for illegal purposes, far outweighs the illegal purposes. So perception risk is perhaps not really a risk. Then the third big category of risk is regulation risk. So this is a possibility that different state governments outlaw Bitcoin or regulate it. Bitcoin or blockchain technologies require licensing. For example, in New York City, there was the BitLicense, which effectively squelched the Bitcoin startup development industry for at least a year. And exchanges, for example, China's exchanges implemented a new kind of rule earlier this year, and volume effectively dropped to zero after that. So regulatory risk continues to be a big problem, and something to certainly watch for with Bitcoin and blockchain.